name's Annie.
My name's Brandi.
And we're both juniors.
So 11th grade.
Okay.
There was once a young prince who longed to travel, so he set out, taking no one with him but a faithful servant. One night, as darkness was falling, they found themselves in the midst of a gigantic forest, and they had no idea where to look for shelter. Then they saw a little girl walking towards a hut, and they decided to stop and ask her something.
May my servant and I spend the night in your hut?
Well, I wouldn't advise you to. You see, it's my stepmother. She's a witch, and she has it in for travelers.
Adventuring can be dangerous, but with a great deal of luck, you might survive.
Or even escape without getting a scratch.
Or maybe even end up living the life of your dreams.
So if you ever find yourself wandering around in the woods and come across a cottage with a witch inside,
Just know that it might not turn out so bad in the end. The Riddle by the Brothers Grimm.
after the prince and the servant went into the hut, they found the witch sitting in a corner.
Good evening. Come inside and make yourselves at home.
She was cooking something, stirring it up in a little pot, but the prince and the servant knew not to take anything that she offered them to eat or drink, because she concocted evil potions. Luckily, the prince and the servant slept peacefully that night. The next morning, the prince had already started on his journey when the servant was fixing up his saddle, and the witch came outside and offered him a drink.
Bring this to your master.
But at that moment, the glass burst, and the potion fell all over the horse. It was so strong that the beast fell down dead right there. The witch went inside her hut, cackling.
When the servant turned around, he saw that there was a raven eating the flesh of the dead horse. So he killed it and took it along with him, saying,
Who knows if we'll find anything better to eat today?
So he packed it away, and they started along. Later on, they came to an inn. The servant walked in and asked the innkeeper,
Here, sir, can you prepare this for our dinner?
but little did they know that the innkeeper and his other guests were very greedy. So they sat and ate the soup. A few seconds later, they all dropped dead, because the soup had been poisoned from the raven. The next day, the prince and the servant went to a city where there was a beautiful but arrogant princess, and she had let it be known,
I will marry any man who can give me a riddle that I cannot solve. Look, is there another suitor?
Here is my riddle. One killed none, yet killed 12. What is it?
She had thought and thought, but she couldn't figure out what it was. So she called her chambermaid,
Oh, chambermaid!
and she asked the chambermaid to sneak into the prince's room and listen to him in his sleep so that she might figure out the answer to the riddle. The next 2 nights, the chambermaid went and listened, but she had heard nothing. So the 3rd night herself, the princess went and she snuck into his room wearing a gray mantle. She knelt down next to him, and when she thought he was fast asleep, it turned out to be that he was awake and well aware of what was going on.
One killed none. What is it?
A raven that ate the flesh of a poisoned horse and died of it.
Yet killed 12? What is it?
12 greedy guests who ate the raven soup and died of it.
That's it. He's told me the answer to the riddle. Oh, I better go before he wakes up. Oh no, he has a hold of my mantle. I guess I'll just have to leave it here. The next morning, the princess announced that she had guessed the answer to the riddle. So she called for 12 judges to come and said her answer before them. But the prince also requested that he could speak.
She snuck into my room last night. She would have never have guessed it otherwise.
So the judges said,
Bring us proof!
So the servant brought in the mantle that the prince had stolen from the princess that night. And when the judges saw it, they knew that it was the one that the princess often wore. So they said,
Have this mantle embroidered with gold and silver, for it will be your wedding mantle.
The prince and the princess lived the rest of their married lives very happily,
All the while knowing
because of their tales.
that no bad deed ever goes unpunished.
So when that poor person is wandering around in the woods and comes across a cottage,
I wouldn't suggest being the witch inside.